Well, we want to say hello and welcome to all our listeners from around the world. Welcome to another edition of This Morning of with Soulivity, broadcasting live from our studio here in the nation's capital and on KMET AM FM in Southern California. My name is Brian Westley Johnson, and I am so glad you're here with us. I'm joined today by my very special friends and co-hosts, Sheila Applegate and D'Angelo Thompson. Good morning to both of you.
Good morning.
Man, I'm so excited. Today is another hot topics day here on the show, and it's going to be amazing. But before we begin, I just want to let everybody know, listen, we want your questions, your comments. Give us your thoughts about this topic all through the broadcast so we can get you engaged. And also, if you want to let us know where you're listening from in the world, post that in the chat as well. And because we really want to hear from you. So let's get started. Guys, we were talking about this show, and one important continuing saga that is happening in our country that's related to this month, which is Black History Month, is the story of the Trail of Tears. And so we wanted to kind of talk about today around the history behind the Trail of Tears that happened many, many, many years ago, and things that are, even continuing today. And then talk about, how do we take this history and empower ourselves from it? And so, I found this great article on history.com, and I'm going to make sure that everybody has this available by posting it in our chat here. On the Trail of Tears, which is something that happened in the 1830s, where nearly 125,000 Native Americans were forcibly removed from where they lived and forced to move into, at that time, the Western territories, many of which were moved into the Tulsa area. Now, one important fact around this is that I think people don't really know or understand is there were many Black Americans that were also part of that move. And they were also moved with the Indians, which is why you had, like, later on, like, a Black Tulsa. Well, how did Black Wall Street in Tulsa come about? It was because of that move. So, did you guys know about that history? I think you guys both know.
I do not recall knowing about that and how Tulsa became to be as part of that. So it's interesting to me. And I feel like I know a lot about both the indigenous and the slave movement. So
Wow.
I bet you there's others who didn't know that.
Wow.
Yeah.
What about you, D? Did you know about that or no?
I honestly, I was born in Mississippi, and I know
Right.
for a fact that Mississippi was a huge Native American, indigenous, or First Nation people. Many were there. And if you have lived there or been there, I feel like that land is very sacred, even though there's so much going on there. And you can feel that around the country where there were huge populations of First Nation people. So yes, and then the African American component or former slave component, definitely.
Right.
I know what land grabs are, and my family experienced them, land grabs.
Right.
So I understand it.
Wow. And so, and one other little quick piece on this is the Trail of Tears actually included like a network of different routes. It's over 5,000 miles long. I didn't. Now that's something I didn't know. And it covered
Right.
9 states: Alabama, Arkansas, Georgia, Illinois, Kentucky, Missouri, North Carolina, Oklahoma, and Tennessee. Um, and there's actually a Trail of Tears National Historic Trail that's run by the National Park Service if you want to see more about that, and actually experience it for yourself. Um, this this is important because we're talking about um, a transfer of wealth that existed in our country at that time. Especially the Cherokee Indians that were in the South had become very wealthy based upon the slaves and slave trade. I mean, D'Angelo, I know you have roots in the South, and I know many people there um, not only knew about this, but have ancestors that were part of it, correct?
That is very correct. And you can see it in the people too and how they look, and their own lineage and within their own families, they talk about it. And there's a kind of sadness to it as well, because as you know, a lot of First Nations and African Americans, there is a disconnect now currently, but I think
Mhm.
it's healing, and I think once you acknowledge things and there's a kind of atonement, which I think we all need to do, there's
Mhm.
a way to heal through it.
Well, I like that word atonement. I know this is close to your heart, Sheila, because you live currently in uh, Native American indigenous area in New York. Can you talk a little bit
Yes.
about that part? Yeah.
Well, I live on the border of the land of the Onondaga Nation, which really my house would be on their territory if the treaties were upheld or if they never even had to have occurred. But yeah, so an interesting other side of it is my understanding of the relations is the Native Americans around here, the Haudenosaunee, helped with the Underground Railroad, and some of those trails were
Wow.
used. So it's kind of the flip side of that dichotomy.
Wow.
It's amazing. Wow.
I didn't. I didn't actually know that.
Neither did I.
We have a big country with a lot of history, don't we?
Right. Like I didn't know, like I was getting educated, like, in Florida, they're talking about the banned books and that kind of thing. We talked a little bit about some of the AP course. We talked about that last week, but I didn't know like blacks, the first Underground Railroad was actually to the South in Florida. I didn't know that it was
Mhm.
north.
Yeah. I see, and from being north, I've always learned that it was north. So,
Yeah, exactly. That's,
the Northern Star, and yeah.
exactly.
Yes.
Now, the State of the Union was yesterday.
Hmm.
And which I enjoyed some of it. I was tired, so I didn't watch most of it, but there was a lot of things that were in the State of the Union that talk about that he was talking about around us caring for each other, basically having programs where the least of us are taken care of by the most of us.
Mm.
And last night, after we kind of talked about what we're going to talk about today, I couldn't help but make that connection to all of this, right?
Mhm.
Because here's a situation where you have this group of people that were there before any immigrants got here from
Right.
Europe or anywhere, and they become integrated into the society, and then they're told, "Oh, you got to go. You got to go here and start all over again." You know,
Mhm.
Sheila, what do you feel about that? I mean, do you agree?
Agree that they should agree with the State of the Union of helping,
Yeah, I
or
mean,
they should have
like,
started over? Okay.
yeah, like, you know, do you feel that that's a connection?
Oh, absolutely. I mean,
Okay.
it's all so intricately connected that I think that's why we sometimes spin out without knowing where to go next, is because
Mhm.
there's so many layers to all of it.
Right. Right. What about you, D? I mean, did you see the State of the Union last night or no?
I would say I watched about 20 minutes of it.
Yeah,
And
it
to
was
be
long.
honest with you, not to get too political, but I am really tired of performative speeches
Yeah.
when it comes to how we connect as Americans and how we help one another when we send billions to other places.
Yeah.
And when we cut education and we cut social programs. So I am tired of the performative speeches on both sides. I'm not saying one or the other.
Right.
I love rallying the people. I love being a cheerleader for the country, and every president has done it, which is amazing. But when you cut social programs that can help, Indigenous people, people of color, poor people in general, and education for all of our children, I go, where's the disconnect?
Right. 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 There was the uh, President Biden had mentioned in the speech that there were, again, going to this whole connection between, that we're all one people, and that there's this thought that, hey, listen, the least of us should be supported by the folks that have more. And he brought up the fact that there was talk around cutting Social Security and Medicare and those kind of social net programs. And and one of the people came out with and basically clutching their pearls saying, "Oh, we didn't say that." And then all the news agencies now are running a tape of that person saying those exact words in 2010. So again, to your point, D'Angelo, about performative kinds of
Right.
things.
Yes.
Sheila, I mean, you've got something that you're going to share that kind of brings this kind of home, because I think most of us don't understand the significance of that period of time and how it changed the whole dynamic of how the United States kind of bore after the mid 19th century. And
Mhm.
so I would love for you to share that after the break, because
Perfect.
I think that people are going to, sometimes we think about those things in the past,
Mhm.
and it really is today. We're really dealing with a lot of that today. So everybody, we're going to take a break. We're going to hand things over to Sheila when we get back, and she's going to talk a little bit more about this subject. So we'll be right back in about 2 minutes.
Have you ever asked the question, if I was to be anything, what would I be? Regardless of money, regardless of status, beyond popularity and fame. Living your passion, feeling your life has purpose. Soulivity is a space to nurture that which lives in all of us. A place where work can become play, and doing what we love creates the dreams of a lifetime.
Hi there, Sheila Applegate here with some exciting news. I've joined the incredible Soulivity team as the host of the new Consciously Awesome live show, where I will be sharing insights to help you discover your full brilliance and claim the vibrant life you deserve. So tune in every Wednesday right here on Soulivity TV to join the fun, and remember to subscribe to the channel so that you don't miss a single episode. Have an awesome week, and I will see you on Wednesday.
And we're back with more this morning with Soulivity, and I'm joined by my host, Sheila and D'Angelo. Hello to the two of you.
Hello.
We're talking about the Trail of Tears from yesterday to today. And Sheila, you found a fantastic article that's related to this whole subject, but that is really close to your heart because it's close to you.
Yeah, and it's just a continuation of that discord that was happening back in those times of the Trail of Tears. And I mentioned that my house borders on the Onondaga Nation. It's one of the tribes within the Haudenosaunee, which most people know as Iroquois. So to set that scene. And having bought the house, I was aware and actually wanted to be close because many of my friends are on the Onondaga Nation. But there's always been this understanding in my heart that it's actually my land now actually belongs to them. It should belong to them. So I found this article. Actually, a couple of my friends were interviewed in, and they just recently found within Syracuse University libraries a letter from 1794 referring to the obstacles of expansion in the communities of the Onondaga Territory. So Onondaga County. And so this is an article by Chris Bolt in WAER, just to give him credit. As I'm going to quote, in the letter, they write a quote from the letter, and it's from Moses DeWitt, I believe, who was a surveyor. And he says, very great inconveniences are felt from the situation in which that tract is likely to remain on account of the land not permitted to be disposed of and improved, which are of vast importance to the new settlers whose prosperity greatly depends on the mutual services neighborhoods can render to each other. So it's straight out saying it's capitalism right back in the 1700s and that disregard. And so the conversation, so as a result of this, this is them not upholding their own treaties and the state making decisions that are not in their right to make. And so between 1788 and 1822, the Onondaga territory Onondaga Nation territory was reduced by 95%, which basically covers the whole city of Syracuse.
Wow.
So in looking at that, there's been treaty wars or treaty disputes in this area my whole life. So I'm thinking about that as a homeowner here, and there's this reaction of, I don't want my house. I don't want to get rid of my house.
Right.
That personal like. And I think this carries over to all kinds of areas. But something about this article and our discussion yesterday shifted to, why am I thinking about me versus them when really I could be thinking about, I would love to pay my mortgage to the Onondagas. And if I had enough money or was reimbursed by the government, I would hand it over to them and move. So I think it goes along with what D'Angelo, you said, that we're not looking in the right direction. And maybe that's what the state of the address meant, but they don't do it when they say it. So how can we actually take action on this and think about it this way?
Right. D'Angelo, tell us a little bit more about what you meant, because you're so deep, especially in these kind of areas where minorities are having their rights, oppressed. Where should we be? Where do you think we should be going?
I was listening to Sheila, and it's interesting that it's like if I come into your home, right, Brian or Sheila, and I start to take things, and then I tell you have to move. I'm taking this house.
Right.
Evict you out of your house, tell you to go find another home, start your life over. Not only that, I take your wealth. So I go to your bank account, I take your wealth. Like, that is crazy to me. So where do we begin? Well, we acknowledge it, which a lot of us are doing. And then we figure out ways to improve upon it and to stop doing it in other nations as well, because we still do it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
It may not be on our shores or on our land, but we're doing it in other parts of the world.
Wow. I love this idea of marrying these two ideas, right? Well, first of all, D'Angelo, you're talking about, listen, let's break this down into like, this is your own home, right? So that's very personal,
Mm-hmm.
right? And it's somebody's coming in your house telling you what to do and then telling you, well, I'm just going to take over this house. And then you got to go build, not just find another house,
Right.
that you have to build another house. Right,
On the
you got
leftover land.
on the leftover land, right? That's way over here, 1,000 miles away. But then, Sheila, you're talking about this beautiful idea of, listen, I don't really have to give up anything today. If I'm living on this land and I'm in this beautiful home, and I'm paying a mortgage on it, why not just pay the mortgage to the people who originally owned the land and have that money go to them?
Right. And he even believed that the treaties that were secondary treaties are supposed to be, I think we're supposed to be paying them. The all of Syracuse is supposed to be paying them, but we don't.
Wow. I mean, when did those treaties go into place? How many years ago?
Early
Well,
80s.
the secondary treaties, which are, I mean, this is after the fact, when they already had reduced them to a reservation and then decided they wanted more. That was from 1788 to 1822.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
And there,
Ye-
Brian and Sheila, you know, there's such a ripple effect to all of this, right? Because on the
Mhm.
reservations, they're dealing with health disparities, food insecurities, addiction.
Mm-hmm.
And it's all a ripple effect from these acts, I should say.
Right. And the fact that they didn't have alcohol and their bodies can't digest it the way we do.
Which is similar
Right.
to Asian cultures. Yes.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Powerful.
Well, you know, as I'm thinking about this, I'm thinking that, and again, you're talking about the ripple effect, D'Angelo. I mean, uh, Black Americans were supposed to get reparations, right? That was part of,
Mm-hmm. Right.
you know, Reconstruction and that kind of thing, and we didn't get any of that money. And here's the indigenous people that were promised things and like in partnership, or we're going to be in partnership with you, and no, we're going to do this together, and we're, you know, don't worry about it. And then it's like, I didn't say any of that. What are you talking about? There's no reparations, there's no treaty. So what I'd like to do is turn this conversation to a story of that part of it, right? Like reparations for indigenous. Is that a concept that we really want to explore? And so let's do that after the break. We're going to take another quick break, everybody. And when we come back, we're going to dive a little bit deeper into this subject. So hang on, and we'll be back in about 2 minutes.
Are you ready to take that first step towards true, unwavering inner happiness? Are you like thousands of people who have everything they need, not want, but need, and still can't seem to find happiness and fulfillment in their lives? If so, the Steps to Happiness show is for you. On my show, you will learn about the principles and practices that lead to true inner happiness. Because guess what? It isn't found in our external environment, but within ourselves instead. Together with my guests, we will explore the latest physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual well-being practices. And together we'll advise you on the actionable steps you can take towards a happier, more fulfilled, authentic life. So I invite you to join me each week on Soulivity TV on the Steps to Happiness show with me, Teresa Greco.
can find all the Satonic products at our Go shop on Soulivity at go.soulivity.com now. Shop for beauty products, skincare, hair care. It is all there at the Go shop. Go shop Soulivity.
And we're back with more from This Morning with Soulivity, and we're talking about the history of the Trail of Tears and how it relates to events from yesterday to today. And one question I have for both of you is, does America owe our indigenous? I know,
Yes.
right?
And in a way, there have been some reparations. And what I mean by that is education. If I'm not mistaken, it is free if you choose to pursue it. And also the whole thing with the casinos. There's a way they can share wealth within their tribal nation through the casinos. So, and I don't know if that's tax-free or not. I would have to check that. But there are two forms of reparations that I know of.
Okay.
So,
Sheila?
Yeah. So the casinos, the idea is that they were always supposed to be a separate country. They weren't integrated into our country.
right.
And so they aren't supposed to pay taxes or have to go under our laws. So that's how the casinos are being able to move through. And it's not actually like they shouldn't have to approve it. The United States shouldn't have to approve it. That's just part of the law. But I
Right.
see what you're saying, D'Angelo. And I can see, like, I think to me it's a bigger picture, like the retribution, not just should Native Americans, but should the African Americans receive retribution? And can we shift that from where is it coming from, who gets enough, to like we said earlier, the government has enough, and stop fighting over it between, not that you were saying that, D'Angelo, but if, we're constantly like thinking, well, there's only so much to go around. So we're fighting over community, maybe white people are afraid to give money because they think that it's going to make them poor, the whole circle. I think it needs to.
As you both were talking, I'm hearing like my grandfather screaming in my ear, like,
Yes.
all of this relates to two foundational things. One is there were promises made and promises broken, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then two, the history of those promises being broken, nobody really knows. And I mean at a macro level, right? I think that it's just been accepted that, oh, well, America just took over these areas and territories. And that, yeah, it was a little bumpy, but it was okay. And that's not true. That's not the history.
Right.
Right?
Right. Yeah.
I mean, so I guess one of the first things is that maybe we need to start telling the history, telling the truth. Right? What do you guys feel about that?
Yes, tell the truth. And also, okay, look at it this way. Retributions could be 400 years. Just put it on the books. 400 years.
Mm-hmm.
And then figure out what that monetary number is. And that goes into social networks and social programs and things to elevate African Americans and elevate First Nation people. Oh, it would be much longer for First Nation people, actually. It would be ongoing. So that's how I would approach it if I was in office. That's how I would approach it.
Well, right. What would you do, Sheila?
I think that to answer your question about the education, I think, the fact that the United States has suppressed two major parts of our history, but slavery and the genocide of the indigenous people, it has to come to the surface. People have to know about it because we can't move forward and make these decisions without that knowledge. And then I love what you said, D'Angelo. It can be done, and it doesn't have to put anyone who is on the edge of poverty or just struggling to get by. It doesn't have to take from them to give. There's plenty of space for it to come from a different part of our government.
Yeah, and I mean, I think one of the powers of America is our diversity, right? And here's this group of people that have such a powerful connection to our land, right? That we take for granted. I was thinking about that part, but I was also thinking about
Hmm.
the concerted efforts to squash truth telling, right?
Mhm.
Right.
In a, this will be another topic. I don't know if you guys saw in Duval County in Florida, they banned a book on Hank Aaron.
Wow. Oh, Florida. Love you.
Right. So that's what I'm talking about. Like, here's a subject where Americans really need to know the truth about our First Nation people, indigenous, and what happened with them and how we benefited from it.
Mhm.
And that's one of the most less known historical stories in America.
Why do we fear the truth so much? That could be a question for our viewer or listeners.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
would like to hear.
Yeah.
I welcome the truth, and it may hurt sometimes when someone tells you something and you have to go, oh, wow, you're right. And then work on it and improve upon it. It's like when your parent would tell you something as a child. And in hindsight, right now in my 50s, I go, oh my God, my mom was right.
I was just talking to a buddy of mine yesterday about that, where, our parents tell us something when we're older and we're like, what the heck are you talking about? Like, we're in our teenage years. Oh, what the heck? You don't know what the heck you're talking about. And then about 30 rolls around and it hits you like a sledgehammer, like, oh my gosh, that's what they
Yes. Yes.
Listen, I want to continue this thread about, shared experience in terms of wealth and prosperity and abundance with our First Nation people. Like, for both of you, what do you see as the benefits of that? And so we're going to talk a little bit more about that when we come back. Everybody just hang on tight, and we'll be back in about 2 minutes.
6 years ago, when I started Soulivity, my vision was to support everyone in improving their life through the discovery of their passion and purpose, so they could become the best version of themselves, to battle fear and ignorance, and create a better world today. Get inspired to live your passion and purpose. Visit Soulivity.com now. Soulivity Magazine and Beyond Words Publishing want to remind you about the importance of continuing to follow public health guidelines to protect yourself, your loved ones, and your community. Please continue to wear a mask, wash your hands, and watch your distance. Please visit these sites for further information about how to stay safe from COVID-19 into the new year. Remember, love protects us. We work so hard sometimes. Isn't it time for a break? Take a walk. Or enjoy nature. Or maybe a leap. Or a ride. Or even a dip. Spending time with a friend. Or some time alone. Whatever it is, always spend time growing and learning with a Soulivity weekend. Every Saturday at 10 a.m. Eastern, right here on Soulivity TV.
And we're back with more this morning with Soulivity. I'm joined by my very special friends, D'Angelo Thompson and Sheila Applegate. We're talking about how our indigenous, our First Nation people were treated back in the day. And my question to both of you was, I think people, when we talk about things like, 400 years of reparations or payments to the First Nation people, that it's like people take that as, oh, you're taking something from me and giving it to them. And I want people to understand that's not really the story. That's really kind of reverse. We took from them and gave them an IOU that was never paid. And so I wanted to ask both of you around this thought of, answering the question, why should we do this? Why is this important? Why do we need to know this history and correct some wrongs of the past? Sheila, I'll go to you first. I know this is really close to you.
Well, I think that's a multi-tiered question for me, because it is important to, in life, we have to face the mistakes or whatever that to overcome them and to become better people. But we as individuals can say, well, I wasn't there, I didn't do it. So it's really what you mentioned about shifting our mentality from scarcity to abundance. And this capitalistic society that we have is constantly trying to keep us in discord amongst ourselves, the people, right? Is saying, okay, this is something like, this comes into universal money, universal support, and having that ability to everybody should be living at it is prosperous. And so when we shift to the mindset that the more that the indigenous people have, the more they'll be able to tap back into their beautiful gifts of creativity and spirituality and support us in all the areas that they have to offer. But the more one part of us prospers, the more we all do.
What about you, Dee?
That's beautiful, Sheila. I agree that you uplift one, you uplift many, right? And I think about when I lived in California, and many Californians know this, there were a lot of fires in the past few years and millions of acres actually burning. And ironically, the native people within that region said, well, there's an old tradition with how we would clean the forest and how we would burn. There's a certain way we would burn so we wouldn't have these massive forest fires. And just in the past year or two, they go, oh, we should try this. I'm like, listen to the people who have been here for thousands of years, who are telling you that you could have saved many homes and many lives and many, animals, etc. And they have that aha moment. And it's really about learning from one another.
Right.
Learning from one another. And when you have nothing else to complain about, when we don't have reparations to complain about or anything else, then what's the new conversation, right? What are the conversations? No one can say, well, I never got what my ancestors did or what you did to my ancestors. But you go, you know what? I'm sorry. And here it is. It may not make everyone happy, but it's a beginning.
Right. Right. And it's with the understanding of there was a promise made here, right? There was an agreement. There was, the native, the first tribes that were here made agreements with these new immigrants that were coming in, that they were going to be separate nations and how that was going to look and what they were going to do. And a lot of that was not kept. And so, go ahead, Sheila.
with that separate nation, Onondaga Nation is, according to them, I don't want someone from another tribe to say that's not true, but they never signed over to receive, I think it's the Indian Health Act or something in there. And so there was something that was offered, and most tribes said, well, we are a nation, so signing this isn't going to take that away. But
Mhm.
the Onondaga refused to, and in doing that, they don't receive the benefits that some of the other tribes receive, and they don't have the casino. So there's been a sacrifice in that. So they are, I think, legitimately still a nation and hold very strongly to that, but that doesn't mean that it's always treated that way.
Wow. Do you talk a lot about people staying in gratitude? And
Mhm.
with the remaining time, I would love for you to kind of talk about this subject in the context of, you know, helping people see that this isn't about scarcity. This is
Mhm.
about that there's abundance here, and that it's about sharing that abundance with this people. Can you talk a little bit about that?
I'll say this. Before I signed on this morning, I did my gratitude practice, right?
Hmm.
So I will say this. I'm grateful for First Nation peoples. Um, I'm grateful for the lessons that they teach all of us. I'm grateful that they are allowing us to revisit this conversation because it's all about the elders. We're acknowledging, by us talking about this right now, we're acknowledging the elders. And I am
Wow.
grateful for all of our elders,
Wow.
and we, Sheila, Brian, and everyone listening, will ignite change, period.
Wow. Wow. Thanks for that. Sheila, I'll let you have the last word on this because you are literally living in history right now.
Well, I love what you just said, D'Angelo. And I think if we hold true to that gratitude and anything that we can do as individuals to learn, not just about the past, but the present, and not just about the suffering, but the beauty that each individual within these groups has, and our lives will be more abundant from that. And in that space, we can grow together as a country.
That's beautiful. I agree.
Wow. I love this topic today. I know it's a little deep for some people because it's something that we don't talk about a lot. Again, that's why we're talking about it here on this morning, because these are things that need to be discussed, need to be brought to the forefront, about people who I would say that are unseen. They're
Yeah.
not seen and heard, and they only come up every once in a while, in a movie or a television program, and that's just not cool. Listen, we're going to take a quick break, and we'll be back with more this morning with Soulivity. Thanks.
Hey there, this is Brian with Soulivity.com. I want to share some exciting news about our new Aspire Academy by Soulivity. Now, you probably want to know what the Aspire Academy by Soulivity is. Well, it exclusively connects you with people around the globe and who share the intense desire to improve themselves and create a better life for themselves today. There's classes, there's workshops, there's live events, and even more exclusively just for you. You see, I wanted you to have a safe space where you could grow, you could learn, and it would empower you in all aspects of your life, including your mind, your body, and your soul. So how do you get started? Well, it is so easy. First of all, the best part, joining Aspire Academy is absolutely free. Just click on the Join Now button, sign up, and begin your journey. As a special part of this invitation to you, there are some free courses that are available for you to try from our amazing roster of coaches and collaborators. It's our way of saying thank you for all of your support and being with us along our journey of expansion. I hope you enjoyed the Aspire Academy by Soulivity today. Start the process. Learn more about your passion, your purpose, and how to live a higher quality life.
Hello.
Yeah, hello.
Welcome back to This Morning with Soulivity. Hi, Sheila. How are you doing?
Good, D'Angelo. So
I think
I
we lost
think
Brian.
it does look like that. So assuming we're still live, I know that next we talk about what's coming up for us on Aspire and anything else that you want to share.
Yeah,
Wanna go
so,
first?
thank you so much for sharing, just Syracuse history, number one, and your experience, your own personal experience. It's really beautiful. And it's a teachable moment. I just learned a lot. Like I saved your article. So thank you for that.
You're welcome. And thank you for the parts that you shared, because that was something that I did not, I didn't know about the Trail of Tears. I thought I did, but from a different perspective. So it was great to have this conversation. Do you have anything coming up on Aspire in the next few days?
Nothing on Expire exactly. I'm actually working on New York Fashion Week. So we have a big show tomorrow showcasing 4 designers, Victor D'Souza, Adrian Alicia, High Post, and Dirty Summer are the name of the brands. So that's been my focus for the past few months. So now it happens tomorrow.
Nice. That's exciting.
But I definitely want to do a gratitude seminar at some point soon.
Oh, awesome. I think you're so good at talking about gratitude and teaching us how to live from that space. And that's so important to each one of us. So.
Very true. Very, very true.
I
Wow.
do have an event coming up tonight on Aspire.
Tell us, please.
On the 8th of every month, which is tonight at
Mhm.
8 p.m. Eastern time, I do what's called the Matrix of Illumination. And it's a meditation and channeled message where the divine, guides me to speak. And we are speaking on topics that we discussed on this program over the last week. So we'll draw in spiritual guidance to take this all to a new level of understanding or have a new perspective from a higher frequency.
I'm just curious, why did you choose the number 8? That's really interesting. I know there's something to it.
There is. I originally saw 8 is important to me. So, and I have I have a podcast out that is called Live Sense 8. And so Sense 8 is a Netflix original show that
That's a great
I
show.
love.
Oh,
So we went through every episode and talked about that. So the 8 is significant for that. It's also, to me, an infinity sign. And on my first book, I unknowingly asked them to put an infinity sign going in the other direction, which other people think of as an 8. But the Matrix of Illumination was an idea I had and then forgot about. And then I found a paper that I had written in 2008. It said I was going to do the Matrix of Illumination. So I pulled it back in and said, all right, the 8th of every month at 8 o'clock.
That's beautiful. Hi, Brian.
Hello, guys. Had a
We
little
missed
technical
you.
Yeah, I know. We had a little technical difficulty here, and so
We
I
held
had to
you up, brother. We held you up.
I know, and I appreciate that, guys. Oh man, hey, the things that happen when you're doing a live stream. And so we just got a couple of minutes left, and so you're talking about the Matrix, right?
Yes, tomorrow night. D'Angelo was
Wow.
asking me why I picked 8, so I gave a long answer to that.
This was such a great topic today.
Yes. Very much
Yes.
so.
Again, we don't talk about these things enough and these people enough. And so I'm so grateful that I had both of you with me today. I think you're the perfect two to talk to about. While we have some time, I just want to remind everybody, listen, you can follow us on social media by going to any of the major social media platforms and typing in Soulivity Magazine or Soulivity M at Twitter. Also, go check us out at our website at soulivity.com/this morning. And don't forget, while you're there, to sign up for our mailing list, which will give you more insight on exclusive content and upcoming live events. I want to say thank you to my guests, Sheila and D'Angelo. Thank you both.
Thank
You're
you.
yeah, you're awesome.
Thank you.
And I want to say thank you to all of you who are our audience and who are joining in on this conversation every weekday. We hope that you come back and listen to us here on soulivity.com at 8 a.m. or you can catch our broadcast at KMET at 9 a.m. Pacific. On behalf of all of us, I want to once again say thank you for joining us. And until next time, keep on having real conversations. We'll see you next time.
Bye, everyone.
This work is subject to copyright owned by Affinity Global LLC. Any reproduction or republication of all or part of this is expressly prohibited unless Affinity Global LLC has explicitly granted its prior written consent. All other rights reserved.